everybody. You're listening to Westchester Talk Radio, and we are live this evening at the Surf Club in New Rochelle, New York, for the annual Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon Fall Gala. I'm Bob Marone, along with Matt Sako. We're produced this evening by Shark Creative and made possible by Robeson, ENT Allergy, and Hightower, Westchester. And our first guest of the evening is a very well-known developer, Joe Simone. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening.
So I understand you're going to be recognized tonight for being involved. What brought you to be involved with the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, I actually was born in the Bronx, and as a very young child, we moved over the border to Mount Vernon.
Okay.
So I grew up in Mount Vernon, went through all Mount Vernon public schools, and I have a real affinity for Mount Vernon.
That's really nice that you're giving back to the community that you grew up in.
Yeah.
How long have you been involved with the Boys and Girls Club?
Oh, I'm going to say now it's got probably 6 or 7 years in that zone.
Wow, that.
Yeah.
You know, I got to ask you a question. I know you run a successful company. We'll ask you about it in a minute. But I'm sure you've heard this before, the old 80-20 rule, where 20% of the people do most of the work, but yet when you want something done, you go to them. Now, doing what you do, you probably don't have a lot of extra time. So where's that motivation come from? I know you grew up here, but still.
Have you ever heard the expression, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person?
Yep, that's
Well,
what I'm talking about.
I think that holds true. And I just feel very fortunate that I am in a position to be able to help. And my heart bleeds for these kids, you know, these children in Mount Vernon that need a place to go and that need structure. And the Boys and Girls Club really provides that structure.
It does.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit about your business. How long have you been doing that? How did you get into the construction and development trades?
Well, I actually started out in the automobile salvage business.
Really?
I did not start out in real estate.
How does that translate?
Well, I was in the glorified junkyard business, but on a sophisticated level. Mm-hmm. We did, what we did was we actually disassembled automobiles. So we demanufactured cars. We actually started out with insurance company salvage, took them apart, and we created a niche that at the time didn't exist. We actually were one of the first folks to computerize back in the late 70s, early 80s, and catalog all the parts, and we did exportation to third world countries and all kinds of things like that.
So in effect, you did what some, what we call reorg, or people that work in investment banking, you broke the car up and sold it for its parts.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
And the...
Now, that question before you answer that. Were those parts of greater value than the sum total of the car?
Yes.
How did you figure that out? I would have never thought that. And I come from a finance background.
Actually, it was kind of trial by error and experimentation.
I bet.
And I wish I could tell you
That's brilliant.
that it was some big master plan, but it worked at the time. It was all, you know, timing and luck, which helped.
Good for you.
Which always helps. And then, quite honestly, my dad, who was very, very handy and good with construction, was always very pro-real estate. And he did a couple of warehouses with my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And he was always pushing for real estate. And when we became a little successful and started to make money in automobile salvage, he promoted fixing up a broken down warehouse building in the South Bronx, which we did. And we leased it to, at the time, a paper plate and paper cup and napkin company. And we were right across from the Hunts Point Market. Mm-hmm. They signed a lease, and I'll never forget when I saw that first rent check that came in, I was staring at it. My father walked over to me and goes, "What are you staring at?" I said, "You mean to tell me we're going to get one of these checks every month?" I thought it was the greatest thing I had ever experienced in my life.
Classic passive income almost.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And all I wanted to do was wake up every morning, work as hard as I could to try and make more money to buy another building and get another check.
And obviously it continues to this day. You know, you drive around Westchester, New York City and stuff, we see the Simone signs, and it's nice to meet the man behind it. What are you working on right now? What's of interest that's going on?
That's a very good question, and I must tell you, we are very excited on our healthcare initiative. We do a lot of outpatient facilities for a lot of the major hospitals and large medical groups in the New York metropolitan tri-state area. And that brings a lot of satisfaction to me in particular.
Yeah, you get to do both things. You get to do the thing that you love and the philanthropy that you also care about.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So now tonight, tell us about tonight. Well, they're recognizing you for your contributions?
I didn't even realize. Are you sure that they really are? I don't think so.
Well, our friend Andrew mentioned it, or at least he saw you on the list.
No, I don't think I'm really on tonight's program for any honor,
Okay.
But it's an honor just to be here.
I bet.
And to be part of this and tonight. And I thank you for this wonderful interview.
Well, thanks for doing this. I mean, as I said, I'm always flabbergasted by the 80-20 rule, and I admire people that, you could be home right now watching the playoffs, for God's sakes, and having a beer in your hand, and here you are contributing to this. It's a nice thing. Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome, and listen, we all have to give back.
Yes, I agree. Joe Simone, thank you so very much.
Thanks.
Have a great evening. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after these words.